And welcome once again. It's Saturday. It's the end of the week.
Sunday.
Yeah, okay. It starts with an S. It's Sunday. I managed to lose a whole day. Good for me.
How did you manage to do that?
I don't know. It's Sunday. It's the end of the week, and it's time for another Angels Citadel Lounge. Welcome, one and all. We're glad you're joining us. I'm Josh Wallace, the one and only Count Zero ASL, keeper of the keys to Angels Citadel.
And I'm Joanne Wallace, the angel of Angel Citadel. And you can find me running around the net as Joanne Wallace or Corsana on Discord. You can chase us around with our link tree.
That's a really handy thing,
Yes, it is.
One link and you got everything.
Yep. So where were we? Oh, yes. Tonight's discussion. We're going to talk about MCD.
Multiple character disorder.
What is this? Oh, well, this is when you end up having to play multiple or needing to play multiple characters in a single game. All of you GMs out there already know this feeling.
It's soon to come to the DSM 6, I think is what we're on.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't look at me. I slept since then. But yeah, tonight we're talking about not just running multiple characters as the DM, but also playing multiple characters.
That's right.
Which happens when you run short on people and you still want to play the game, but you can't just run around, like, for example, in Shadowrun, with only a ganger with a gun and maybe a mage hand.
You can absolutely run around with a ganger with a gun for,
die.
a couple minutes, and then you get shot.
In the face.
A few times.
With a gun.
That's
bigger than yours.
Because everybody got a gun bigger than yours.
Especially in Shadowrun.
All right.
So
let's start with the easy one. GMing multiple characters. How do you do it?
Very carefully and with lots of booze.
Okay, so I think let's...
Seriously, though, the easiest way that I have found to DM that many, especially if you want to give them unique individual characteristics, is sticky notes.
Okay.
I am a big proponent of sticky notes and index cards. Even if it's just, a couple little words. This guy has this shop in this city. Otherwise, you end up with the little goblin chasing the party around. Buy my wares.
So let's distinguish this a little bit, okay? As a GM, you get the opportunity to run several different types of characters. You got characters that are like your big bad evil guy or girl, whatever.
Quite likely, yes.
Possibly, yeah.
It depends on their counselor, their psychiatrist, and the drugs that they're taking to go with it. But yes, in a lot of cases, the information that we're going to be imparting did help one of the children we deal with who has dissociative identity.
So anyway, you've got the big characters.
Yes.
The ones that are recurring, the ones that you think about if you're running a game that does it, they probably actually have a stat block. or some
Vampire
sort
Boy.
of character sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those characters, you're going to put a little bit more care into how you think about this one has this personality, he's got these items, he lives here, and it looks and smells like this, etc., etc. You're going to take a lot more notes. Okay. You're going to use index cards, or you can do things like GM aids, books, binders, whatever, however you want to do it, whatever works for you. Greater notes, lesser notes. What do you want to remember, and how good's your memory? Keeping those straight is probably not that difficult for most GMs.
Yes. I will state, however, no matter how carefully you craft that NPC that you want your players to talk to, they're going to pick somebody else.
This is true.
Especially if they're level 1. I'm sorry, if I'm level 1 and there's some creepy dude with a rusty crown hanging around the friggin' tavern that is screaming, "Do not approach me," there ain't no way in hell my ass is gonna approach. An old adventurer is a smart adventurer.
This is true. This is true. But at the same time, a good GM is not going to introduce a character like that to first level players. A good GM.
And Fook, when I say that somebody with dissociative identity disorder, one of the big things that the counselor said, that like Josh was saying, one of the big things the counselor informed them was journaling. To get a journal with a color, a color cover. I had to think of the word. I lost the word. I can't believe I did that. Get a journal with a colored cover that matches the identity of the person the person you're journaling. Because you can buy like a big box of multicolored ones, especially around school starting time, for $1 a piece.
That's right.
And so that was one of the big things that helped with their issues, is that when they had their disassociation, they could just pull out that journal and write what they were thinking during that time.
So another thing that Joanne mentioned was you've got those other characters, right? So you plan a big encounter. Maybe it's a shopping encounter where your characters are going to get some, really juicy information or whatever to advance the quest. Or there's a contact for a secret organization or whatever that they need to go find. And along the way, off to the side, talking about to some shopkeeper somewhere, is a guy that's wearing a purple cloak. And the fact that you said it was a purple cloak will instantly make all of your players decide that this guy is the most important person in the entire campaign. And you haven't thought about him at all. So what do? Well, if you're me, you cheat like a bitch.
It's not cheating like a bitch.
So there's a couple of different things. I have an addiction.
That's speaking lightly.
To cards. And so I'm going to show you a couple of different ones. This is from a publisher called the Game Master's Apprentice. They're not going to be able to see it. he came up with these little random cards. Okay. Kind of see there's a table, there's several tables. It's got random belongings, it's got names, it's got virtue and vice, it's got potential sounds or things that you see or things like that, that you can use as narrative prompts, to give you something to riff off of as you do. As you
yes, ignore the mess behind me.
As you're in the process of describing the scene. Okay.
Give me that card.
Shoot. Hang on.
And this is the cards that he's talking about.
There you go.
You can't see them very clearly. Should have taken screenshots of them. But they are extremely useful.
So those are one variant of that. Another one.
My favorite.
My favorite. They're fantastic, and they've got different genres too. So if you're running like a horror game, there's a set for that. If you're running a sci-fi game, there's a set for that. If you're running a fantasy game, there's a set for that. I think there's a steampunk set.
Mm-hmm.
There's a link that you can use these online, and we'll post that in chat here.
Mm-hmm.
You know where that is?
No, but I have Google.
Okay. I'll post it here in a minute. The other set that I have is from Monty Cook Games. So this is an NPC deck. And if you look kind of there, you can see maybe, possibly. Yeah, there we go.
Maybe that's what you just need to do. Put it over your face.
Well, yeah, it's better looking at that and looking at my face anyway. It's got a name. It's got a prompt for appearance, demeanor, personalities. Now, this one's kind of optimized for the Cypher system, but you can take this too and give it a little bit of flavor based on your system, right? So modifications: electronic or mechanical tasks at +2 levels. So maybe if there's a repair skill in your system, or if there's a construction skill in your system, you give them that and you give them a fairly high level of it. There's a distinguishing feature or item that it gives you. And this, it's a fairly large deck, right? It's probably 150 cards? Something like that?
Something like that. I don't know. Do I need to go get the big box? And Fook, to answer your question, that's going to depend on the player and how involved they want that their disorder to be. If they need to have the extra thought process, I guess is a good way to put it, then I would talk to them about that. Yeah, the best thing that you're going to need to do is just talk to them about that and see where their comfort level is and find out if they want to bring those other identities forward. Other people that I've dealt with don't want to have their focus on their main identity and just ignore the fact that they have this disorder, which that's between them and their counselor. But as usual, my advice is going to be talk to your players, see what they want to do. Yes, I have known players that have dissociative identity use a lot of the techniques we're using and talking about. Yeah. And offer them the option. So I don't know how much more we want to talk about GMs, or do we want to go into the players playing multiple characters?
The players is probably where the bulk of the conversation is going to be.
Okay. So going into your question, Fook, with regards to players playing multiple characters, yes, it has been known to help people with that. There's not scientific proof yet, because they really like to have typically a long research time on neurodivergence, which is, I don't know how I feel about that, because I feel like that's both good and bad, because in a lot of cases I feel like that's trying to avoid the problem, because solving the problem is not going to make anybody money. Alternatively, I can also understand them wanting to play it safe. If the person wants to play multiple characters and give them different personalities and have that identity come forward to play that character, that's perfectly fine. But on that case, don't just talk to the player. Make sure that they're okay with the group knowing about it, and talk with the group as well, and make sure that they're comfortable with this concept.
Because as a general rule, the game table is not a therapy session. And most of the time, the rest of the players are going to have a hard time with that.
Unless you're actually running your table as a therapy session.
Then hopefully you're a licensed therapist.
Yes. But yes, so running multiple characters. When you run multiple characters, I would recommend running no more than 2.
Mm-hmm.
Any more than that, and you'll get... Well, I got frustrated. I tried to run more than 2, not as the DM, and I get frustrated. So one of the big things that you have to avoid when running multiple characters is metagaming. It's a big thing. Especially when you have a character that knows information that the other character doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You want to avoid that. So I highly recommend having your 2 character sheets and then 2 journals. Mm-hmm. And then you write down extensive notes as to who knows what.
Yeah, what each character knows.
Like, for example, I had one character that went on a run, talking Shadowrun, that the run went south. Shit hit the fan. Things went really south. She ended up blowing up the entire building. Why did she end up blowing up the entire building? Well, the basement was infested with ghouls. And anybody that's played Shadowrun knows that ghouls are very bad and icky. They make the little vampire Prissy from Barovia look like a cakewalk. Alternatively, but I had another character that was doing another task in a different part of the city that doesn't know that this run went south that way that fast. The only thing they learned is that a building mysteriously went on fire at this location. So I had to play each character not knowing what the other character knew.
There's a couple things that I'll say. The first one has to do with let's define metagaming for those that are watching this that have no idea what that means. Metagaming is the practice of using information that the player knows for a character that doesn't also know that information. Okay? Or in this case, using information for one character that another character knows, but that character wouldn't. because you're playing both of them. So I would echo Joanne and say that keeping notes is a huge thing. The other thing that I would caution is to remember that in a role-playing game, the goal is not to beat the DM. The goal is to tell a good story. That's the goal for both the DM and the players. So using metagaming to gain some sort of competitive advantage is missing the point.
In our opinion.
It's not a versus game. You're working together. So when you do it, it's like it takes the suspense out of the story. It takes the believability out of the story. And you're left with, here, let's be two people that are sitting across the table throwing dice.
I'm not going to say that there are people that cannot play. There are people that probably shouldn't play because they can't separate that knowledge. However, if they're with a group that if they're with a group that doesn't mind them having all of that out of game knowledge, then that's fine. But honestly, they'd probably be better served as being the DM. Yeah, it depends on the convention, though. I mean, I am not going to do competitive tabletop. I've seen too many people have epic fucking meltdowns. Like, you know, people joke about the whole table flipping thing. I've actually seen a dude do it. He lost to a piece of plastic, which is in essence what our dice were, you know, except for my pretty metal dice that I love so much. But he lost because he rolled a 1, and instead of accepting consequences of that roll, he flipped the table and stormed out, and then security had to get involved, and it was not okay. I mean, this wasn't at a convention because I've never done an in-person convention. It was at a gaming thing. And there's kids there. There is no reason to throw that kind of fit over numbers on a dice.
It's just a game. And
what makes it worse, right? So what makes this story so much worse is the fact that we were running Tomb of Horrors and he wanted to run it straight. Now, anybody that's played D&D for a long ass time, me, Josh,
knows what that means.
Playing raw Tomb of Horrors sucks.
You're gonna die.
You will die a lot because the one bad roll.
That's all it takes.
All it takes is one bad roll. You get 2 or 3 bad rolls in a row, you've got a TPK because Tomb of Horrors is a meat grinder. Yeah, it's
if you want to learn how to create devious traps and puzzles, it's an excellent study. Gygax was a master. Okay. If you want to learn how to run fun games, it's horrible. It's absolutely a waste of your time.
In Gygax's defense, I will state that there is one reason and one reason only it came into existence. Because one of his players told him,
that his character was unkillable.
His character was unkillable. And this is a press released proven statement from Gygax.
Mhm.
His player said, "You can't kill my warrior." Gygax responded, "Fucker, watch this." Or in other cases, "Hold my beer."
Pretty much, yeah.
So Tomb of Horrors came into existence, and it's an ugly, ugly. I will state that you can. I'm claiming your lap. I will state that you can have fun with Tomb of Horrors if you approach it the right way. My favorite way to run Tomb of Horrors is now, and always will be, the Kobold football team.
I love the Kobold football team.
All right, so anybody who doesn't know what the Kobold football team is when you take a group of kobolds. And if anybody's actually played a kobold, you know that they get some very nice benefits and bonuses when it comes to seeking and finding traps. You take your kobold football team and you tag them with numbers. You don't even bother naming them. And you send them in.
Well, and you back up. So everybody gets a kobold football team. So football team has how many players?
12?
12?
Something like that. 15?
So round it up and you get 15. You make 15 kobold PCs. Everybody makes 15 kobold PCs. And they send them in one at a time.
A football game is played between two teams of 11 players each.
So 11, 15, whatever. The GM picks a number, right? And you make that many kobold characters each. And you each send in one kobold. And they go do their thing. Best done with
a group of 5.
When that kobold dies, not if, when.
Yes.
You send in the next one. So you've got a stack of like 15 kobolds that you can send in so your player's never really sitting, not doing anything.
So I will tell you a story of the kobold football team. There were 4 of us. We each created 25 kobolds. Gave us a total... Yeah.
It's fun. It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. So we each created 25. Well, I was the DM because forever DM. There were 4 of them. They each created 25 kobolds. And they numbered them around in to where the last number was 100. And then they decided to see how many kobolds it would take to defeat Tomb of Horrors. They got to the 4th floor with kobold 100. So that should tell you there's 8 floors in Tomb of Horrors?
No.
How many floors?
There's 2 floors in Tomb of Horrors. A Sarax on the 2nd floor.
Okay. So they got to the Sarax.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got Crispy Crittered.
Mm-hmm. Because they tried to fight him. No,
actually, they tried to lead the Sarax into a trap of itself. And it failed because the kobold failed the dodge dex save.
The trick with that, spoiler alert, yeah, because I'm bad, is you got to kill his phylactery.
Yeah.
Because he's a lich. But yeah, no, with playing something like a kobold football team, it's a great convention game. You set up, a one-shot or whatever, and you do, 15 pre-gens for each character of these stupid little kobolds. You block out 6 hours or 8 hours or something like that, and you just go to town. It's a great set of laughs.
It's also good when you have little kids that want to learn how to play.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah, you give them these little lizard men, and they're super, especially boys. And sometimes the girls, but especially the boys. The girls are really excited if you change the kobold name to fairy or princess. Of course, this was before the games that came out for the kids.
Yes.
Like No Thank You Evil. This was before
or Hero
then.
Kids, or yeah.
Yeah, this was back in 3.5. And yes, Spook, that sounds like that'd be a fun game to play as a kobold football star. Especially with the attitude kobolds are supposed to have. Oh my god, can you picture that? They're this big, but their attitude's these big. It's like a chihuahua running around.
You bet. You bet.
Where were we? So yes. So when it comes to playing multiple characters, the big thing is again taking notes of what each character knows.
And not metagame.
And trying not to metagame. There are times that you will metagame. Because that's just the human mind.
It's kind of like playing a role-playing game, right? So there are times, no matter how simple the role-playing game, that you will mess up a rule.
Yep.
It's okay. You just keep playing. There are times when you're playing multiple characters that you're going to metagame. It's not something that you do on purpose, but it's going to happen. So move on.
Of course,
the trick is trying not to.
Yep. Of course, the other trick that I've found is that when I've had two characters and they've gone off to do separate things. Yeah, you're true. That's typically why I don't play with battle games.
Hey, wait a minute. That's Asmo. Hey, Asmo. Yes, no, I agree. I typically don't do battle maps either. I play Theater of the Mind. And that's part of the reason. It makes it tough unless you're using like a virtual tabletop with dynamic lighting or anything like that. But you know, it's a tough deal to do in person. I've seen some really cool crud. Hero Forge or whatever, where they've got the actual physical setup on table, and they've got some sort of cover that covers each section of that map somehow. I don't know if they're actually part of Hero Forge or someone went and cut cardboard or something like that. But you know, I've seen people do that. But yeah, Dwarven Forge. Yep. It's running with a battle map's tough to not meta in that game because you can look and just see.
Yeah. I will state that while you don't have the top-down rangefinder, one of the things that you can do with a lot of the new virtual stuff is the Fog of Wars.
Yes.
Which makes it fairly handy.
Foundry does that really well. That was the whole that to come to. Yeah. I still don't use Maps Digital very often.
I use Maps Digital when I am running with teenagers because they have a harder time of understanding what I'm saying, and I have a harder time explaining what I'm saying.
Hey, thanks for the follow, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, especially when you're working with younger kids, seeing that that piece in front of you makes it a little bit easier, rather than.
Alternatively, there are some kids that just like moving their pieces around.
Well, but then it's it ends up being a dice game too. They enjoy the rolling the dice. They enjoy
No, why
beating the
would
target
we?
number.
Invisible Sun doesn't have combat modifiers. So I would use maps for Shadowrun. I would use maps for low fantasy gaming. I would use maps for low life 2090. But I'm not going to use maps for things like for things like Invisible Sun or Cipher. I might use maps for D&D depending on the players I'm playing with, but it comes down to how complicated is the combat. Now I've plopped down maps to say, okay, this is the city.
Mm-hmm.
Or this is the building, this is the blueprints of the building that you're casing. But actual combat maps are rare.
Yeah.
The biggest reason why I would use it for Shadowrun is because Shadowrun has a lot of combat modifiers. So does Low Life 2090. Partial cover, full cover.
That's one of the reasons you'll see most of the maps that I draw for Angel Citadel content are either city maps or overland maps. They're very rarely site maps.
Yeah.
Because I don't do tactical battle maps. It's a personal thing. That's not to say that they're bad, but yeah, absolutely, Asmo. I'm doing Invisible
what
Sun
will
right
be your
now.
next stream game?
Ooh, yeah.
Inquiring minds want to know. Yes, there is, but it is a general map of the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Galaxy or galaxies?
Galaxy.
Because we've got, yeah. So it's a full map. It's not a battle map. Mm-hmm. It's basically a Star Wars map.
Yeah,
or the equivalent of.
This is where stuff is in relation to each other.
So yeah, maps are useful if you want to use them. Maps are useful if you don't want to use them.
Very nice. Very, very nice. That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, I like the Forged in the Dark rule sets. Those are fun.
Blades in the Dark is one of her favorite games.
Mm-hmm. That's because it's fun to be awesome.
I'm more of a science fiction guy, so Scum and Villainy does it for me, but it's the same kind of thing.
I hope you have fun with that, Fook.
You bet. I remember playing first edition D&D.
I never played first edition AD&D. I was told girls can't understand the math for this. Yeah. Well, I'm doing better in math class than you are, fucker. Sorry. When I was younger, there were a lot more gatekeepers.
Yeah, there were.
There are still gatekeepers, but they're getting kicked off their high horse. So.
No, after I'm done with Invisible Sun at some point, we've got a ways to go. I'm actually probably going to do a Low Life 2090 campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pickpocket Press, in case you haven't checked it out, they're awesome. Steve Grzycki's amazing. Love to death. Yeah, the Pathfinder's a lot of fun. I've had quite a bit of fun playing Pathfinder. First edition. I haven't played second yet.
That's because I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't know. Pathfinder, I've got kind of a love-hate relationship with it. I spent a lot of time running 3.5. Um, and as I've read Pathfinder first, it does a lot of things better, and I'd probably run that if I had to choose between the two of them. But I don't know that I'd actually run it anymore because there's so many other games that are easier to run. Just like you said, Asmo, it's just there's too much to keep track of.
Unless you're lazy.
I can't be that lazy. I don't know how.
I typically don't run a lot of the crunchier games because I don't want to think about it. I don't want to focus on the crunch. Um, I do love Pathfinder. When it first came out, I was one of their beta testers, and I think we've still got the beta test.
We do.
Yeah.
No, the thing now, and we've said this in other videos, and we've said this on our blog. I just want to tell a good story. I want to sit around and watch my players do awesome shit and laugh and be able to just be amazing and tell these amazing stories. And I want to cheer them on. And there's so many better games to do that with than D&D and Pathfinder. It's not that they're bad games. It's just not what I want to do anymore.
I think I've played that one.
I don't think I have either. We've got DCC.
Yeah.
But I don't think we have either scope.
I don't think so either. I know we've got a lot of other stuff.
You know what I loved about Good Games? I love their conversions. Their the redone adventures, resurrected adventures, or whatever the heck those things are called. Expedition to the Buried Peaks and the Lost City and
I don't know
Isle
what they're
Dread.
called. They're my big books of doom.
They're amazing. They did a fantastic job with those. But yeah, that's.
I kind of want to grab one of those and run it, but I don't want to run it in D&D.
So don't run it in D&D.
I didn't like the D20 modern rules. Yeah, we've got the D20 modern book.
We do have the D20 modern rules.
I didn't like the D20 modern rules. I found them to be limited. Of course, I also ended up playing in a post-apocalyptic game with a dude that was a bit of a knob gobbler, if I want to be accurate.
I've not played Savage Worlds, but I've looked at this stuff, and it looks interesting. I could believe that. That's yeah. So my flavor for that is Cipher. Yeah, but it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other, right? So the whole point is just go cinematic, go narrative with it. And there's a couple systems that you can do that with fairly quickly. Cipher, Savage Worlds, Fate's another one. Any of the Forged and Darks games are fairly narrative heavy, but you know that. So yeah, I've heard that. I haven't looked at that one. but I've heard that. There's a couple others. There's Interface Zero for Fate, and I believe they also have a Savage World version.
Well, okay, look. I liked 4th edition rules.
Yes.
When they did the 20th anniversary of Shadowrun, I've still got that book. I love the Shadowrun setting, but they have had 20 years to build that setting. 6th edition Shadowrun sucks donkey ass. I'm not happy with the rule book. I'm not happy with the fact that it was 15 pages of errata released on the same day that they were dropping this book at Gen Con. The fact that the book that we bought is completely falling apart and we've barely touched it. And Catalyst's response to this is, "Oh, well, that's not my problem. You must have handled it too roughly." Fucker, it's sat on my shelf. I've got books from indie publishers that have seen hell that are in better condition than my 6th edition Shadowrun book.
In fact, I'll one-up you there. Dang near every book that we have from an indie publisher, new or extremely used, is better than the Shadowrun books.
We have a Cypher edition, or the Cypher revised core rule book, that flew down the basement stairs and slammed into a brick wall. And when I picked it up, do you want to know what damage was on it? It had a scratch on a corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, basically. Yeah, Chonky, my tallest book. Chonky.
Tallest. Heck yeah, man. even Goodman Games DCC. That's a huge book.
Yeah.
And it's still built.
My Temple of Elemental Evil books.
Dude.
So Josh has been ordering me the Goodman Games reboot of their adventure paths, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he ordered me the Temple of Elemental Evil, and when it was delivered,
it's a 2-book set.
It's a 2-book set, and when it delivered, the little FedEx driver handed it to me and just had this look on her face because because the box was, about that thick, about the size of a thick book, and it was 40 pounds.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So yeah, what other books have we got that are chunky? I don't know what the SNV book is. What is the SNV book?
I don't know. Scum and Villainy. Okay.
I don't have.
Yeah, we do.
But ours isn't that chunky.
No, it's a 6x9.
Yeah.
The Numenera books, the core books.
Yeah, they're kind of chunky. Because I'm thinking chunky, not chunky.
Well, I mean, if you count like the Everway books that we just got are fairly chunky. Yeah, the box set of City of Mist.
Somebody got their Everway books and was very, very excited.
Oh my god, you guys! Holy crap!
Yes. The Cypher rule book is decently chunky. It's not a super chunk.
450.
Yeah. $450-ish. It's not.
Tallest, for reference, Tallest is 670 pages.
Yeah.
Goodman is something around 700 pages.
Yeah. Savage Worlds is like Reader's Digest. I'll buy that.
For real, man, you know?
Ego suit.
So we're playing Show and Tell now. But no, I mean, these books are all extremely high quality, and then you compare them to stuff like freaking Shadowrun 5 or 6, and it's garbage. Like, what the heck?
So, this is the revised core rulebook.
You're gonna have to take it off, or that, yeah.
So this is the Survive.
The revised core rulebook.
And as you can see, it's that thick. This is Tallest. As you can see, side by side.
It's about 1.5 times.
Oh yeah, and this. Wait, is this the one? No, this isn't. This is not the one. So,
which one?
I'm just checking to see if this was the one that hit the floor.
Oh.
So, and then this guy. The Temple of Elemental Evil.
2 books.
The Temple of Elemental Evil.
Part 1, Part 2. It's freaking amazing.
Yeah, the spines on the books that I get from MCG are really freaking nice.
Well, yeah, and so every time I review like an MCG book, it's almost a copy paste. Yet they use the same publisher that they always use, and it came out amazing, like it always does, because you know it's good stuff. The binding's always nice; it's always tight. The printing's fantastic. The ink stays; it holds on the page. The page quality is good. We've got a lot of books like that.
Show and tell. This is what we got.
New one.
This is the Tallest. Yeah.
GM screen.
That's the Invisible Sun.
I'm not going to haul that in here. That's like 80 pounds, dude.
So
I like you, Fook, but if you want to look at the Invisible Sun, go look at the video.
So yeah, this is the screen, the GM screen.
Nice and hard.
Yep.
Material.
And then
that's right.
I'm gonna say again, ignore the mess in the background because I need to put away clothes and I haven't gotten around it.
Dude,
but look at how sexy this is. Can I even see?
Kinda. It's glary.
There we go.
But there you go.
Look at how sexy the back of this thing is. Yeah. And then the front has all kinds of information. See? So I'm very excited for it.
So to answer your question, Fook, we were crazy. Invisible Sun, the cube, the black cube, is a $250 spend. With that, you actually get the value. And we talk a little bit about that in the video that's the unboxing that we've got on our YouTube channel. But we bought a black cube for us, and we took it apart, and it's packed in such a way that getting it back together, if you don't put it back together exactly the way they packed it, is next to impossible because it's a really tight thing. Anyway, so we decided that we were going to do this unboxing, but we didn't have the cube to be able to put it together because we couldn't remember how we put it together in the first place. So we were crazy.
We ordered
ordered a second cube.
Yep.
And we unboxed that. and then we put it all back together, and then we gave it away to someone that is near and dear to us. And so we spent $250 on this black cube, and then I spent another 100 or so to ship it.
But he was very appreciative, and
He was.
plays with it a lot.
We love him to death.
Yep. We've basically adopted him as one of our kids. Because that's kind of what we do, you know?
Never used GM screen. I do and I don't.
I do when there's a lot of information I need to have handy. But I have one, because as nice as that tallest one is, I probably won't actually use it except as a display unit. But I have one
Getting it.
That allows you to customize what's in the GM screen. And so I'll have information that I've customized for the game that I'm running, especially for modules like the NPCs the players are going to encounter, locations that they're going to encounter. I've got one, but I also have a whiteboard that I use when I'm running an in-person game. I use notes on the computer when I'm running digital, because that's how it works.
I like notebooks, but I also use a GM screen. Not for the information so much, but occasionally to keep things from the players. So if I've got like a printed map or something like that, I'll hide it behind the GM screen. Or if I like if I'm playing Cypher, right, and I use my GM intrusion deck and I draw a GM intrusion in advance, I'll set it down where the players can't see it, and then I'll refer to it in the appropriate point in the story. But no, it's not typically something that I use the stuff on it. Or if I do, I will use one of the
No, I'm not upset.
The print ones like I linked with whatever I need custom.
Our Discord is very much if you'd like to hang out with us on Discord, here it is. But we're on your Discord, so we can talk to you there too. It's not, we're not trying to do a race to how many people we get on our Discord. It's more of a, hey, here's where we are if you want to chat to us more often than when we're on Twitter. Because I don't Twitter very often because I forget.
But this isn't a race either, right? So it's not about who can get the most followers, and it's not about how popular you are, and it's not about some farcical currency of people. It's just we're sitting around chatting about role-playing games.
Yep. That's basically what we like to do. What else did we want to talk about? I don't remember. Oh yeah. The other thing that I use the GM screen for is I always ask when I was playing in person. I don't do it anymore because between COVID and where we live, I typically don't leave the house as much as I used to. So I always back when I did use a GM screen, I would ask my players if they wanted open roles or if they wanted me to hide the roles where I could fudge them. Yeah. That's the only issue that I have with Cypher system, to be honest, now that I've played it a lot, is the if you tell them what their target number is, they'll know whether they fail or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like to give them the option if they want open rules or not. Because, you know. But with the whole thing with the moving to digital, it's if you're using dice, I don't care because I'm here to tell a story.
Yeah.
And you should have been there last Wednesday. I missed you.
We did miss you.
We would have had fun. I played a stoner halfling.
That was a chef.
That was a chef of stoner snacks.
It would have been fun. Bring out your cleric. Yep.
Yep.
That's the one.
But she was a
Yep, Holly.
So often, occasionally, sometimes, I don't know, randomly, we will join Manapot Studios for their Wednesday night happy hour. And we'll play D&D 5e with the awesome Liza during Manapot happy hour. Yeah. That's who I'm talking about, Asmo. She would have been perfect to play with my little halfling stoner. Like, literally, she was smoking a pipe the entire time we were playing.
It was funny. It was a lot of fun. So. No, that's probably something we're going to try and copy
at some point on a different day.
On a different day, so we're not conflicting with them because they're buds. But you know, the idea of having random people being able to come in and sit down and just play like a one shot with us, something is kind of cool. We'd love to play with you.
Yeah, I want to play with you, Asmo. Ask?
Yeah. It's real hard.
I've got something coming up that I'm still working the deets on because I've still got to decide the system. I've got the setting in mind. I just haven't decided on what system I'm going to run it in. Because it's like, do I take it into Ironsworn, which is a really awesome system, or do I use one of the many other systems we have?
Lots of cool systems out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's stay tuned. We'll be talking. So when I did my Invisible Sun one, what was it, maybe a month and a half in advance, we put out a casting call. We're going to put out another casting call.
Yeah, shortly before,
because this one's probably not going to be as long.
Probably not, because I don't know that I could run it for that long. Unless, it goes sideways and everybody wants it to keep going.
Yeah.
I might have had that happen a time or two.
We might flip that casting call a couple of times before I get done with mine.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
The other thing that we're waiting on, the reason why I'm not pushing hard for it, is that I am looking at enrolling in school, doing a coding boot camp. I talked about it some on Friday, but yeah, I'm looking at doing a coding boot camp, which is probably going to leave me mentally drained for a bit. So
we'll see.
But yes, Asmo, we miss playing with you. I want to play with you again someday soon. Because, yeah, I like playing with you.
We like playing with cool people, and that stable of cool people doesn't have doors on it.
Nope.
So we're welcoming. We want more
All the
cool
peoples.
people to play with.
Well, let me phrase it. All the peoples that aren't going to get pissy when I don't get all, no, you can't do that because the rules say you can't do that. Because I am never going to be, well, you can't do that because the rules say you can't do that. I'm going to be very much, yeah. Yeah, no worries. I get it. I was just telling you you were missed. But yeah, I'm very much a, sure, let's see what happens. Give me a roll.
Speaking of world building games, have you tried Arium?
Arium Create.
I am.
Isn't he cute? We're rather fond of it. We've used it to build. We have started building out our replacement Shadowrun world with Arium Create.
The guys over at Adept Icarus are freaking amazing. I love them. But this is a really, really cool world building tool. Arium Create is a collaborative, organized world building tool that also has a supplemental role playing game that you can play with it, called Arium Discover. Arium Discover, is that right? Arium, yeah, Discover. Lost my mind there for a minute. Not only am I losing days, I'm losing my mind.
Are you sure it wasn't already lost and you just forgot where you put it?
So yeah, check that out. It's a blast. We've used it not only for gaming, but we've used it for fiction as well.
Yep.
And it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's basically it for us tonight. Unless anybody has questions for us.
You bet. You bet.
Of course. I'm not saying you have to go look at it now. I'm just
No.
yes, now must look at it.
But it's one of the reasons we're here. Yeah. These are tools that we use here. Maybe you can get some use from them.
All right. You guys have a good night.
You bet. Thanks for joining us, Asmo, Fook. We appreciate you. Every Sunday, 8:30, we're right here. Same bat channel. Every other Sunday is Invisible Sunday here. And if you want to not wait, too bad, because Hole in the World is on hiatus.
Yep.
So too bad. Next year sometime they'll be back.
Yep.
And then
Friday
Night Halo.
Friday Night Halo.
Until we beat Halo, and then we'll figure something else out.
Well, we could, we'll find something else to play. All right, from our Citadel to yours, happy gaming.
Happy gaming.